for the hardest-hitting show in talk radio. The true progressive voice since 2012. This is Southpaws.
Welcome to Southpaws on the Pacifica Radio Network. We are the leaders of the revolution. My name is Darren Gibson, and I'm your co-host.
And I'm Katy Steele Baroni, filling in for Jack Prince.
Well, thank you so much for joining me again this week. I greatly appreciate it. So do our listeners. We've got quite a few topics to talk about, including what's happening at the U.S. Postal Service. And I've got some inside knowledge on this one, so you're going to want to sit down and listen to this. We got to talk about the Proud Boys visiting Kalamazoo last weekend and what happened there. And we got to talk about some of Donald Trump's cronies back in the news and back in trouble again. So we'll fill you in on all the details with that in just a couple of minutes. Before we get started, a couple reminders that you can follow us on social media by going to facebook.com/Southpaws Radio Show. You can follow us on Twitter at Southpaws Radio. We have a new Tumblr page. If you want to follow us there, go to southpawsradioshow.tumblr.com. That's TUMBLR.com. Brand new page. Just started it last week. I'm still mad at Facebook, and I will be for the rest of my life. And hopefully coming soon to MeWe.com. So make sure you check that out as well. We'll have an update on the possible transition to MeWe.com here in the next few weeks. So we'll keep you updated on that. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/Southpaws Radio. You can listen to the show anytime you like at Spreaker.com. Do a search for Southpaws there. You can find us at Apple Podcasts. Just do a search for Southpaws. Once you've found our logo, you found us. Links to our podcast are sent automatically to our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube accounts, and to our Tumblr account now. So if you're going to listen at YouTube, go to youtube.com, do a search for Southpaws Radio there. And, of course, you can listen on great Pacifica stations, including KCEI-FM in Taos, New Mexico, KZGM in Kabul, Missouri, and Global Community Radio Channel 1. We're on every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Make sure you check us out there as well. Before we get into the show today...
Hi!
Oh, that's the wrong track. Here, let's try that.
That's a lot.
That's much better.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah, playing the Beatles' birthday song because, Katy, happy birthday.
Thank you, Darren. I love the Beatles. Best song ever.
And we're recording on Friday, August 21st, 2020. So, any birthday plans today?
Oh, not too much going on. It's my last birthday ever. I'm staying 21 forever after this. So,
absolutely.
You know, probably celebrate that later. But
yeah, there you go. Oh, well, the reason I had the wrong track is because I had something else in mind for your birthday, and I've got a little greeting here from somebody.
Hi, this is Fred Flintstone, and along with Wilma, Pebbles, Dino, and your other pals from Bedrock, we'd like to wish you a very happy Birthstone Day. Now, blow out all your candles and save a piece of cactus cake for me.
cactus cake?
Cactus cake. Yabba dabba do, right, Fred? Oh, my gosh.
That was so cute. Thanks, Darren.
Yeah, I pulled it up on my computer. I'm like, oh, I forgot I had these.
Oh, that's so great. It's
I've got
classic.
Fred Flintstone. I've got Quick Draw McGraw. I've got a couple others, too. So, yeah, it's
definitely
crazy.
A good choice. One of my favorites growing up.
Crazy stuff that I've got on my computer. One-hit wonders, sound clips, sound effects. Is just
you never know what's going to come up around here.
Yeah, the life of doing radio and being a former strip club DJ. You never know what's in that computer. Oh, but that's another story for another time. The story we want to talk about right now is not a very good one, and it has to do with Donald Trump's Postmaster General DeJoy, who is really filling the post offices full of joy, not because he's removing mail sorting machines. Not just one or two here or there. It's happening all over the country, folks.
Yeah, and it's like all of them. I don't think it's necessarily backed up. Well, probably starting now, it will be backing up immensely, I'm assuming. So far, I've still gotten things mailed on time. Even as of today, I got something that was sent from Missouri a few days ago. But it was just 2 days ago, I believe, that we saw the pictures that were taken in real time of the Grand Rapids post office and all of their mail sorting machines, which Darren actually just clarified to me today. We are responsible for sorting the mail for a huge portion of the state.
Yes. I want to read this story before I give you the inside knowledge here. Heather Walker reported for Wood TV. By the way, she got the door slammed in her face at the postmaster's office in Grand Rapids.
Nice.
Yeah, Miss McMillan is not very nice, my opinion. So this comes out of Grand Rapids. A former post office employee who worked on the machines that have been removed says there's no reason to remove any mail sorting machines, saying it will only slow down the delivery process. The man News 8 spoke with knows the ins and outs of the machines. He worked on them as a mechanic for more than 15 years. Yeah, he would have been part of the maintenance department. There's actually two sides of the maintenance department at the plant downtown. There's custodial maintenance, which they empty the trash cans and fill up the soap dispensers, etc., mop the floors and sweep and whatever. Then there's maintenance that repairs the machines. And they have to go to classes every so often in Norman, Oklahoma to learn this stuff.
Interesting.
Yes. One of these days, I'll have to tell you the story about the mechanic, the maintenance person that damn near died on his motorcycle going out to Norman, Oklahoma for training. He was driving past a semi, the tire blew, and it shredded and hit him right in the chest, broke his arm.
Oh, my gosh.
He somehow stayed on his bike and slowed it down, throttled it down enough because he couldn't use the arm to brake.
Oh, wow.
So he throttled it down enough that he could slow the bike and stop, and then had to be taken to the hospital. And he was off work for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, and the bad part is he was one of the better mechanics there. So, Continuing the story from Heather Walker, the man who didn't want to be identified said, quote, "I'm very concerned that we are going to lose our post office. It's a scary situation. I do not want our mail to end up in the hands of a private company." End of quote. Through a targeted investigation, we learned that 7 of the 35 mail sorting machines in the Metro Grand Rapids area have been taken apart and offline. Well, now, they're talking about different machines here, and I believe there's more than 35 mail sorting machines. I believe there's 35 DBCS machines, delivery barcode sorters. These are the machines that sort your letter mail.
Right.
There's other machines called flat sorters. Those sort magazines, the bigger manila envelopes, stuff like that. There's another machine that sorts packages. I believe there's a couple of machines that sort packages.
Okay. So you'll have some stuff. The first class mail is going to go through those machines. You just said it first. And then if you're mailing like priority mail through those bubble envelopes or the packages, that's going to go through a different kind of...
And priorities handled separately from the regular mail because of deadlines.
Okay. So we could just be getting the information here about the first class part of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this would take care of first class letters. It would also take care of what most people call junk mail, your corporate mailers.
But most importantly, this is where the ballots. This is where the ballots
exactly.
are going to go through as the first class mail, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Those will go through the delivery barcode sorters.
Okay.
Let me continue here. The former employee said this, quote, "What that means is each machine, whether it's a facer, canceller, or a delivery barcode sorter, those machines run approximately 35 to 40,000 letters an hour. You take a 10-hour day, that's 350,000 letters per machine. take out 2 machines, that's 700,000 letters that are not going to get sorted or canceled, causing backups, end of quote. He says he's personally seen the impacts. Quote, I got a bill the other day that came after I got the call saying I owed the bill, so letters are getting delayed substantially, end of quote. He continues, quote, this is the whole purpose of the post office. You are supposed to get the mail there to the correct address and on time, and we are failing at that. Not because of the postal workers themselves, but because management is taking away the tools they need to do that, end of quote.
Tools that we've already invested in and paid for, folks.
Mm-hmm. Those machines are not cheap.
No.
Let me continue. The employee said that he cannot think of one reason why you would get rid of those machines, adding that if a machine isn't needed during a slow time, it can be placed on idle mode to save money and be turned back on when needed. Quote, it is just crippling to do. It's just mind-boggling. How are you going to make money by throwing away your machines? It makes no sense whatsoever. End of quote. Yeah, and that's the thing with these machines. They're not ending up in a warehouse somewhere ready to be put back into service. They're being thrown in huge dumpsters.
Yes, they're literally being thrown away. It does make sense. It makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. He is scared he's going to lose the election. You know, we have to stop talking around this and acting like there could be another motive. There isn't another motive. There isn't.
This is the kind of thing that tin pot dictators do.
Yeah.
This is a banana republic we're living in, folks. I got bad news for you. We just have more money than most banana republics. There's your difference. They
have more money because we don't have power or control over it anymore. When they're just taking it, you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, if that's what they're doing with the mail sorting machines, what about all the brand new mail trucks we've seen on the roads? Are they still there? Are they just giving those away?
Who knows? Let me just give you the inside baseball on this, because I worked at that facility in Grand Rapids downtown. I was there for about 11 years. When I started working there, I worked as a markup clerk. That was what I was hired in to do. What the job of a markup clerk is when you move, you send your card in to forward your mail. Markup clerk keys in the code after the information's been entered in the computers. Markup clerks are the ones that send your mail forwarded to you. The little yellow envelope, or the little yellow sticker on your envelope, that was what I used to do.
Okay.
A few years ago, they added a machine on the end of the delivery barcode sorters that now does this.
Ah.
So there's 1 or 2 machines that have labels that are rolled in there. So all the mail that's been forwarded, when it goes through the sorting process, if it needs to be forwarded, it's put in a separate bin so that it's run later on this special delivery barcode sorter to apply the labels and sort them to the new addresses. Okay. And then they're put back into the stream and then run with the regular mail when it's sorted. The delivery barcode sorters are responsible not just for sorting mail between cities. They're responsible for what's called delivery point sorting. What that means is you run the mail the first time, it sorts it into bins. Some of the machines have 100 bins, some of them have 150, some have 200 or more. Some of these machines can get pretty long. You just add modules on the end of it to extend it out. Once those sorted into bins, they run the mail the second time to delivery point sorted. In other words, what the machine does is it sorts the mail in the order that the delivery driver or the delivery walker
will deliver
delivering the mail. It sorts it by route.
Gotcha.
So these are important machines, folks.
Yeah, because that was something people had to do by hand before those machines showed up, and they're going to be doing it by hand again now. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, as a former post office employee myself, this should scare the hell out of you if you're listening to this.
Just to throw in a side note here, I don't know if, well, I actually do know that there's at least 1.5 million other people that did the same thing as me, but we applied for our passports within the last few months. And they had told me at the time that I did it at the post office that they didn't know how long it would take. They were 1 million behind because of COVID and already being behind schedule. It could have been, they set up to 3 months at that point. And now I'm thinking, will I ever get it? You know, and when we're going this fast away from being any kind of a republic, that's really scary. I really wanted to be able to know I had that paperwork done, but
yes. Yeah. Here's another example of what has happened with the delays. This is reported by The Hill. This is Zach Budrick writing on August 19th. Poultry farmers in Maine have complained of an increasing number of young chicks dying en route to their farms, blaming it on operational changes to the U.S. Postal Service. Pauline Henderson, who owns Pine Tree Poultry in New Sharon, Maine, said all 800 chicks in a shipment from Pennsylvania were dead by the time they arrived last week. Let me stop there. For those of you that don't know, yes, the U.S. Postal Service is the only transporter of baby chicks in the country.
Huh?
Yeah.
So Herbrooks doesn't even...
No, that's all. They send their chicks through the U.S. Postal Service.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I've seen the trucks with the chickens. I didn't know they were...
Oh, no, I'm talking the little babies.
Okay, so these are... Okay.
Yeah, these are the chicks. Yeah, they come in a box, I don't know how big the box is.
A few square feet.
A good couple of feet. And it's full of baby chicks. And every so often, if they're running late, we, feed and water them, whatever.
Okay.
You can't really do much. But there are these big boxes, and there's holes all through us so the chicks can breathe. And when we get them in, we just kind of stop by on our break time. Oh, look at the cute chicks.
Right.
They just, But, yeah, the post office delivers more baby chicks than you know, folks.
That's medicine, too.
Yeah.
Prescription medicine that people are depending on to live.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a story that was published by one of the media sources. There was a guy, retiree, needed his heart medicine. He hasn't had it. He's supposed to take it every day, and he hasn't received it in 10 days because of the delays of the post office. Henderson told the Portland Press-Herald, quote, "We've never had a problem like this before. Usually they arrive every 3 weeks like clockwork, and out of 100 birds, you may have 1 or 2 that die in shipping," end of quote. Henderson told the newspaper the chicks shipped in the same amount of time they usually do, but that they appear to have been mishandled en route. She added that thousands of birds are shipped through the Postal Service Processing Center in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, before shipment to Maine and New Hampshire appeared to have been similarly affected. Under Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, the Postal Service has seen several operational changes, including reductions to sorting equipment and a proposal to end all overtime. Representative Shelley Pingree, Democrat of Maine, said in a letter to DeJoy and Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue that she has received several similar complaints about poultry in her district. Pingree said, quote, "It's one more of the consequences of this disorganization, this sort of chaos they've created at the post office, and nobody thought through when they were thinking of slowing down the mail. And can you imagine, you have young kids and they are getting all excited about having a backyard flock, and you go to the post office and that's what you find?" End of quote. She added, quote, "This is a system that's always worked before, and it's worked very well until these changes started being made." End of quote. The Postal Service is particularly vital for poultry farmers as no private entities ship live animals. Maine has no hatcheries of its own, relying on interstate shipments. And I didn't even know that part, that there are no private shippers that will send live animals.
I see.
Yeah, because they don't have the facilities to handle it.
I got you. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many possibilities here we couldn't begin to think of all of the problems this will cause, not having a postal service or having a privatized postal service.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people don't understand. I had a friend who works for UPS on my Facebook the other day, and he was discussing how UPS has a plan in place, to take over.
Mm-hmm. Of course they do.
I know, that's what I told him. And he's like, we can handle this, and the post office just loses money. And first of all, it doesn't lose him money. It doesn't lose me money. Does it cost money to run the post office? Yes. Does the money that we spend there end up saving all of us money? Yes. That's the part that they keep forgetting to mention when they talk about how much it's losing.
It's a government agency. It is not supposed to make money.
Right. The Air Force doesn't make money, and nobody has a problem with that.
And by the way, let me remind everybody, that the United States Postal Service has not received congressional funding since the 1980s.
Right.
The U.S. Post Office is a quasi-governmental agency that is self-sufficient on the purchase of postage, stamps, etc.
Mm-hmm. And it's affordable. It's the most affordable way. I've worked in shipping for several different companies, and none of our private carriers can compete with the prices of the U.S. Postal Service. I don't know anybody, and all of these were Republican business owners that I worked for, who were adamant about using USPS because it was cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
So and this guy that works for US or UPS who was telling me that, he thinks that they should just take over. And I finally said to him, do you understand? The only reason you make what you make and have any kind of benefits now is because they're competing with the U.S. Postal Service. Mm-hmm. You take away that competition, they've got no reason to pay you well. All they're going to do is cut your benefits, cut your wages, give you more work. And we're going to pay more for packages that are going to take longer.
And the first thing that the UPS will do once privatization happens is they'll get rid of the Teamsters.
Yeah, and they will steal every one of the assets that they own right now. Like I said, those cars will end up in the hands of private companies. Those trucks we just bought, everything. Mm-hmm. Come on, friends.
Yep. Let me just remind everybody that other people have tried to process the mail.
Yes.
The U.S. Post Office went on strike in 1970. It was the last time postal employees went on strike. They tried managers sorting the mail. That didn't work. They brought in the National Guard to sort the mail, and that failed miserably. So they finally negotiated with the postal employees, and they got concessions. The employees said, okay, we're not going to strike anymore. There used to be 23 unions that represented postal employees. It's down to 4 or 5 now because all the others have consolidated, like the mail clerks and the maintenance clerks, and I believe the mechanics that work on the truck are all under the American Postal Workers Union. I'm not sure. Amy Puhalski, who's the local president, who I used to work with, could probably give a better idea of who falls under APWU representation. The mail handlers have their own union. The city letter carriers have their own union. The rural letter carriers have their own union. So
obviously it's another conversation, but we really need to strengthen our unions again, you guys, and get rid of all the ties to the political parties because we need them to stand up for workers right now. We don't have much time.
No, we sure don't. No, because unfortunately it seems like all the racists and everybody is coming out of the woodwork, and I know you want to talk a little bit about what happened this past weekend in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah. I don't know if this has gone national or not. I would be surprised if it hadn't at this point because it was such a violent event. Mm-hmm. It involved the Proud Boys, the right-wing militia group that, has been getting more and more notoriety these last couple of years, especially. They had plans for a while, I guess, to come to Kalamazoo. Mm-hmm. And they supposedly were supposed to arrive at 2 p.m.
And by the way, this has gone national. CNN has reported on this.
Okay. So you've probably heard about it, even if you're not one of our local listeners. So Kalamazoo, first of all, to give you a little bit of background on Kalamazoo, they've got a really progressive city commission right now that is actually going in to vote on reparations. Mm-hmm. There has been a lot of stuff going on there. There was a homeless encampment last year, the year before, that the police and city commission ended up coming in and breaking up. They had one city commissioner that was staying at the encampment and supporting it, and I think they basically ran her out of town.
Yeah, I think she resigned in protest.
Yes, and she was amazing. Shannon Sykes, I believe is her name.
I think you're right on that one.
So there's been a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of activism, a lot of tensions, because we are West Michigan is very conservative ultimately and has been over the last couple of 100 years. So when they heard the Proud Boys were coming, we would assume that the Kalamazoo Police Department, which in the scheme of police departments go, is a lot like their city commission, less militarized generally than Grand Rapids. So if you're comparatively looking at them that way, I don't expect them to be one of the most violent forces. So I really expected them to show up and at least be there on scene. Unfortunately, they didn't arrive in time.
No.
Their intelligence told them that the rally was going to start at 2 o'clock, I believe, and apparently they showed up a half an hour early. So, because they were, thrown way off with that half-hour early arrival by the Proud Boys, they couldn't get there, I guess. The police chief made a statement. Let me see if I can pull up so I can read her exact
while
statement.
While you're looking that up, Shannon Sykes-Nearing resigned from the Kalamazoo City Commission on May 20th, 2019. It says here, according to MLive, she resigned after her family moved out of the city limits to start a homestead. So
good for her, honestly. She was very refreshing, very honest, and I'm glad that she didn't put up with any BS.
Yep, exactly. Well, while you're looking, I have this story. This is Meredith Spellbring, writing for the Detroit Free Press. This was published on August 15th. A planned rally by an alt-right group was met with counter-protesters, leading to escalating tensions in Kalamazoo. Proud Boys, the alt-right group, planned a rally in Kalamazoo in support of police officers and to denounce Antifa. That is according to WWMT, which is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting. Sinclair Broadcasting is a bunch of right-wing, hard right-wing conservatives.
Yep. Who owns Sinclair Broadcasting? That's a Koch brothers?
No, that's the Sinclair family.
Sinclair family, okay.
Yes. Let me continue. After seeing the planned rally, members of the People's Defense League of Michigan gathered at Arcadia Creek Festival Place to counter-protest. Well, it says here, after tensions between the two groups escalated, Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety began making arrests around 2:30 p.m. What they don't tell you in this article is, like you said, Katie, Proud Boys showed up at 1:30. That's when the fighting started, pretty much. And the cops didn't arrest any Proud Boys, but they sure arrested a bunch of people supporting People's Defense League of Michigan.
So, yeah, and here's the interesting part, is that, the police chief came out and made the statement saying that, they had the intelligence, and when these guys showed up early, that they were caught off guard. And she had the officers staging around the corner, but couldn't get there in time. And she's actually updated her statement 3 times, which is why I'm still trying to find the original statement.
Wait a minute. They were staged around the corner and they couldn't get there in time?
It still took apparently 20 to 25 minutes after the violence broke out. Now, keep in mind, there were veterans that got beat up. These guys did not just come into town and then arguments started. They arrived in vehicles that did not have any license plates on them. They parked in the same parking lot. They got out. They marched in synchronized fashion, like the KKK, with weapons.
Or the SS.
Yeah, much more like the SS, actually. And they were chanting, "Whose streets? Our streets." And when they got to the point where there were other counter-protesters, they viciously attacked these people.
Started pepper spraying
them, macing them, punching them, beating them. There were people that got broken bones and their faces were bleeding. And basically 25 minutes after this happens, now uniformed police start showing up. And what do? They arrest the peaceful protesters and a reporter.
Yep, a reporter for MLive. By the way, his first job in newspapers, and he's African American, detained by police while recording live on Facebook. And by the way, you know what he's being charged with? Impeding traffic.
Impeding traffic.
I hope MLive has got some really good lawyers, because I'd be suing the city of Kalamazoo, and it would be $100 million, and I would bankrupt them. That's what needs to happen. I've said it before on this show for years and years and years. When you're wronged, go after them, 9 figures or more, and bankrupt them. When they don't have money, they'll behave.
But what's the problem with that? Here's the thing. If we do that, if we sue them, who pays?
Unfortunately,
the people.
Then the people should be going to the commission.
They're going to have to get up and get mad about it, right?
Kicking the commission's ass.
Absolutely.
That's the way you get things done around here, folks.
We have to do something, because this is nuts. This woman came out. The police chief says Proud Boys completed their mission by causing chaos in downtown Kalamazoo. Yeah, they sure did. And they were joking about it on social media, she said. Okay, that's great, Chief of Police, which everybody is calling for her to resign at this point, because the handling was horrible. 9 people were arrested, and none of them were from the Proud Boys. and the chief herself is up here saying that they were the problem. They ended up dropping the charges, I believe, on everybody.
Yeah.
Which they know right now what they're looking at, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Oh, it is so infuriating. And I'm just going to say it, Darren. I'm just going to say it. Nobody has ever seen the Proud Boys and the cops in the same room at the same time. So I need somebody to explain to me why I should not believe that those were the police. That those were the police macing people, beating people, and then they left, put on their uniforms, and came back to arrest the same people they just beat.
If they're not the same people, they're sympathizers, my opinion.
I mean, they stood back for 20 minutes while that happened. So if they weren't the ones doing it, silence is oppression. You know what I mean? It's silence is violence.
Yep. The Proud Boys is listed as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center due to their white nationalist memes and affiliations with known extremists, according to the SPLC. So, yeah, there it is. Yeah, you were talking about the Proud Boys and the cops. I'll just read the line from Rage Against the Machine. Some of those who work forces are the same who burn crosses. There he is, period, end of story.
And if you're my age and you're around 38, 39, 40, and you were like jamming out to that stuff in high school, keep in mind that half the people that were singing it with you were feeling the opposite. Like they were hearing the opposite message. Okay? Because I really thought so many of my friends were feeling the way I did about the world. And now I look back realizing, no, they were happy that some of those who joined forces were burning crosses, and I didn't see it. So,
Yep. The philosophy on this show is real simple. If you see a Nazi, punch a Nazi.
Knock
right in the face.
Knock them out.
Speaking of, have you seen the video? I believe it was in, it sounded like Australia, where this white guy was on this, looked like a train of some kind, like maybe a subway train or something, and he's just laying in the racist talk, and the train stops somewhere. And
is it one where his kid carries him off the...
No, okay. He's standing in the way of the door, and a group of about, maybe 3 or 4 black guys are exiting in the train, and the white guy lips off, and the one dude just turned around, swung one punch, and knocked him colder than a banker's heart.
Ooh. I can.
And the other people on the train were cheering them for doing this because they were sick of this idiot.
Right. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This from this story. I have to read this out loud because I can't even. Okay, so Thomas, the chief of Kalamazoo Police, who said she did not believe any Proud Boys were arrested Saturday, stated there were 111 officers from 5 jurisdictions ready to respond to the events, and that an operational plan was in place. Her department began receiving intelligence in July that the Proud Boys may be coming to town, she said. And in recent days, it became apparent that they were likely going to arrive at about 2 p.m. Okay, guys. Likely going to arrive at about 2 p.m. So they didn't know what time they were going to be there. And even though if you work for Applebee's, you're supposed to show up, 10, 15 minutes ahead of your shift so that you can be prepared to go to work. Apparently, the people whose job it is to protect our lives don't feel like they need to show up maybe 10 or 15 or 20 minutes ahead of when they think the violent racist group might show up. So that in itself, she needs to resign.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, the police aren't there for prevention of crime. They're there after a crime has happened to pick up the pieces.
Yes, to protect property and, collect money.
And protect the rich. Let's just say that. And one of the rich has been protected. He ain't getting protection no more. I want to move on to this story. Beautiful news came out on Thursday.
This is so good.
The Associated Press out of New York writes this. Donald Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, was pulled from a yacht and arrested Thursday on allegations that he and 3 associates ripped off donors trying to fund a southern border wall, making him the latest in a long list of Trump allies to be charged with a crime.
Ha ha.
Yep. Ha ha. Like the kid on The Simpsons. The organizers of the We Build the Wall group portrayed themselves as eager to help Trump build a big, beautiful barrier along the U.S.-Mexico border as he had promised during the 2016 campaign. They raised more than $25 million from thousands of donors using their ties to Trump to build legitimacy and pledged that 100% of the money would be used for the project. But according to the criminal charges unsealed Thursday, much of the money never made it to the wall. Instead, it was used to line the pockets of group members, including Bannon, who served in Trump's White House and worked for his campaign. He allegedly took over $1 million, using some to secretly pay co-defendant Brian Kolfage, the founder of the project, and to cover hundreds of thousands of dollars in personal expenses. The arrests make Bannon the latest addition to a startlingly long list of Trump associates who have been prosecuted, including his former campaign chair Paul Manafort, his longtime lawyer Michael Cohen, and former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. Trump has also made clear that he is willing to use his near-limitless pardon power to help political allies escape legal jeopardy, most recently commuting the sentence of longtime political advisor Roger Stone. Bannon was taken into custody by the Postal Inspection Service on a 150-foot luxury yacht called Lady May.
Postal Inspection Service? Okay, I did not hear that part. Sorry, I had to interrupt.
Yep. The yacht was off the coast of Connecticut. And by the way, let me just fill you in, folks. Do not ever mess with U.S. postal inspectors. They always get their man. Always.
They're a lot like the DNR, too. Don't mess with the DNR either.
Yeah. Neither Bannon nor his spokeswoman or attorney responded to requests for comment Thursday. Kolfage didn't respond either. Other prominent members of the group included former Kansas Secretary of State Chris Kobach. By the way, Chris Kobach is the one who has engineered the purging of all the voter rolls all across the United States. It's general counsel, but he is general counsel of the group, apparently. Other prominent members of this group, Eric Prince, founder of Blackwater. Also in the group, former Republican Representative Tom Tancredo of Colorado, and former Major League Baseball pitcher Curt Schilling, who has been a former winner of Douchebag of the Week on this show. They were not named in the indictment. Hopefully they will be soon.
Yes, I hope they are, please.
Trump quickly distanced himself from Bannon while claiming he knew nothing about the project and never believed in a privately financed barrier. He told reporters at the White House, quote, "When I read about it, I didn't like it. I said this is for government. This isn't for private people. And it sounded to me like showboating." End of quote.
I wish you could see Darren's face right now because he actually looks a little bit like Cheeto.
Trump added that he felt very badly about the situation. By the way, it was reported on the Today Show on Friday. Trump knew all about this.
Oh, of course. We all knew that.
Yeah.
But they have evidence of it?
Yeah,
Okay,
apparently.
good.
Yeah, there was somebody in the room.
Nice.
An immigration plan, and by the way, Trump has now said he doesn't know this person, that he was
Oh,
a
of course
low-level person in the administration. Of course. An immigration plan unveiled by Trump last year included a proposal to allow the public to donate toward his long-promised wall, as the Kolfage group had originally said it was its mission before changing it to private construction of their own wall. But Trump later denounced the project publicly, tweeting last month that he, quote, disagreed with doing this very small section of wall in a tricky area by a private group which raised money by ads, and he claimed, quote, "it was only done to make me look bad," end of quote. Yeah. He's just pissed because he didn't think of it himself.
Well, and it's it's a great illustration of how people are mismanaging campaign funds, and how, he was this blatant about it, Bannon was, because he didn't think anybody would ever charge him for it. Mm-hmm. This is normal.
Attorney General William Barr told the Associated Press that he had been made aware of the investigation into Bannon months ago, but did not say whether Trump had been informed. Well, he has.
Right, yeah.
Trump knows what's going on, or
exactly.
he's got his snitches telling him everything. According to the indictment, the defendants used fake invoices, another nonprofit, and sham vendor arrangements to try to hide their efforts. Under the arrangement, Bannon and his co-defendants allegedly paid Colfage $100,000 up front and an additional $20,000 monthly, all while claiming they served as volunteers and that Colfage was not paid. The indictment said Colfage went so far as to send mass emails to his donors asking them to purchase coffee from his unrelated business, telling donors the coffee company was the only way he keeps his family fed and a roof over their head.
Wow. Wow. And then I believe that it was his wife, too. They were paying the spouse of Colfage because they had all of that documented, the conversations.
Colfage eventually spent some of the over $350,000 he received on home renovations, payments toward a boat, a luxury SUV, a golf cart, jewelry, cosmetic surgery, personal tax payments, and credit card debt. Charges include conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. By the way, if they're convicted on each of those counts, that's a 20-year sentence per crime.
Right.
So 2 counts, 40 years. But that'll never happen.
Right. They're commutable, I'm sure, if Trump wants to. I mean, Bannon's out right now on $1.5 million bail. Mm-hmm. And he supposedly isn't supposed to take private planes, jets, or yachts. But can somebody help me understand who's going to know if he does? These are private and can pick him up at home.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Bannon's been doing his own podcast, and Colfage was just a guest on the show a day before the indictment was unsealed.
I need to go back and listen to that.
Yeah. I would tell you what it is, but you folks can look it up, because screw giving him any publicity whatsoever.
I'm only listening to laugh.
Yeah. Speaking of fundraising, I got this. This was a letter sent to my mom's boyfriend.
The envelope looks very official.
By the Republican Presidential Task Force. Yeah, it looks really official until you get to the postage, and it says nonprofit organization, which means it's third-class standard.
Third-class standard.
It's not first. So he wrote this supposedly Monday morning and then mailed it out.
We all know he can't read. He didn't write that.
Says, "Dear whoever he wrote this to," and I'm not going to mention my mother's boyfriend's name. Those of you that follow my personal Facebook, you know who I'm talking about here. Oh, God. So here's what Trump supposedly wrote in this letter. "I'm not one to mince words, so I'll get right to the point. I need your help, and I need it now. Over the last several months, America has been facing an incredibly challenging time, and yet we must also focus on the fact that there is a national election in less than 3 months that will have a profound effect on all Americans and will ultimately determine our nation's future. The big government socialist Democrats, led by Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer, are continuing their massive, nonstop propaganda campaign and bogus witch hunts to destroy me and our Republican Party."
Oh, my gosh. It's my ears are bleeding.
"Their irrational hatred is on display 24/7 as they nitpick my every move."
Okay, that last sentence was true.
Let me stop there. I wish Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer were big government socialist Democrats. No, they're corporatists, just like Trump is.
Yep. But they just care about different corporations, which is the problem here.
Mm-hmm. Working with the liberal mainstream media, who is spreading their fake news 24 hours a day, they are doing everything they can to ensure they defeat me in the November presidential election and capture complete control of our lives, our families, our businesses, and our government. No, Trump, that's your orange ass.
Exactly.
You're the one that's trying to be a banana republic tin pot dictator.
Yeah, you're so crazy, I have to go vote for Joe Biden.
We can't let that happen. Today, I am asking you to join key Republicans in Michigan and across the country who are making a commitment to support me and my America First agenda by becoming a charter member of my Republican Presidential Task Force. Yeah. his American First agenda when his maggot hats are made in China. His daughter's clothing made in China. Everything Trump made in China.
They picked up Bannon on a Chinese yacht.
He was hanging out with a Chinese dissident on that yacht. Unbelievable. And yet,
I think I can see why, though, looking at this article right here, Darren, why he's sending out things from this Republican.
Yeah, well, Trump just.
Well, it says there are more than 70 Republican former national security officials who just came out in support of Biden. 70. These are all NSA security, like national security officials, though. And from what I've heard, they're scared. They are terrified of what they have seen behind closed doors with Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Well, you should be.
Exactly. I mean, from what we're seeing not behind closed doors, I'm sure it's terrifying. I don't even want to imagine.
Oh, God. So your first call to action, I'm skipping around a little bit. Your first call to action as a presidential task force member is to complete and return the enclosed presidential task force pledge of support by September 4th. I need you to go on the record right now and tell sleepy Joe Biden, the fake news media, and the big government socialists that you still stand with me. And by the way, that you still stand with me is in all capital letters.
Wow.
So there's a pledge of support that you sign, and then emergency election contribution. The lowest amount is $35. The highest amount, $5,000.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And if you want to pay by credit card, you just fill out the paperwork on the back of this form and send it in, and then pay off Orange Cheeto over minimum payments for the rest of your life.
It's going to be a minute for him to get it back because, you know, the U.S. Postal Service is breaking down those mail sorting machines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
Listen to this quote. This is from the letter that they sent. Is there more to the fundraising?
I'm just going to forget this because this is just...
It's a joke, right?
It's garbage is what it is.
He is garbage.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what the NSA security advisors are saying in the letter. They're saying we are profoundly concerned about the course of our nation under the leadership of Donald Trump. And some of the people who signed this, I'll just show you a couple of their names. There is William Webster, a former defense secretary under Obama, Chuck Hagel, and former CIA Director Michael Hayden are a few of them. The letter outlines 10 reasons why the signers believe he isn't fit. Donald Trump has gravely damaged America's role as a world leader, the first point in the letter says. Other items include declarations that he is unfit to lead during a national crisis. He solicited foreign influence. He aligned himself with dictators, disparaged our armed forces, intelligence agencies, and diplomats, undermined the rule of law, dishonored the office of the presidency, divided our nation, attacked and vilified immigrants, and imperiled America's security. Mm-hmm. While we, like all Americans, had hoped Donald Trump would govern wisely, he has disappointed millions of voters who put their faith in him and has demonstrated he is dangerously unfit to serve another term. In contrast, we believe Joe Biden has the character, experience, and temperament to lead this nation. Many of us had hoped that Trump, like those before him, would rise to the honor of the office, that the mantle of leadership would weigh heavy on him and lead to a change of behavior, that perhaps the tweeting, bullying, coarse language would be set aside behind closed doors and he could treat the office with dignity and gravity it deserves. That did not happen. Elizabeth Newman, former Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security.
Wow. Yeah. No, he's a scumbag. He just is. I got some good news here.
We need good news.
We need some more good news. This is Tom Winter and Rich Shapiro writing for NBC News. This is dated August 20th. A federal judge on Thursday denied Donald Trump's latest attempt to quash a probe by New York prosecutors seeking his tax returns and other financial documents. The ruling by U.S. District Judge Victor Marrero amounted to a second loss in Trump's high-stakes court battle with Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance. Marrero had rejected Trump's initial attempt to block a subpoena from Vance seeking 8 years of his tax returns. The Supreme Court ruled last month that Trump is not immune from a grand jury subpoena while in office, but allowed him to make an alternative argument to fight it. So, you know Trump's going to fight this. He's going to fight it right to the bitter end here. If that means firing prosecutors,
oh yeah,
removing judges from the bench.
Ultimately, if they reveal it, by making this public information, then he can actually be charged and removed from office, right? I mean, bottom line here.
But here's the thing. Even if this is made public, his supporters are still going to follow him.
Right. I'm not saying they won't, but what my point is that couldn't he actually be charged and arrested if this can be used in court, you know?
It would have to be up to Congress to impeach him.
Still,
because there's never
been
a precedent.
Without...
There's never been a precedent of criminal charges filed against a sitting president.
Because we've never had this kind of a criminal sitting as a president.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, folks. Wait, can't Congress call in the Capitol Police, right? They can actually deploy the Capitol Police. They need to send the Capitol Police to arrest his ass now.
Mm-hmm.
What are we waiting for?
It's because it's a gamed system. That's why we're waiting. It is.
We're waiting for complete fascism, and I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. It's because, again, Rage Against the Machine. Some of those who work forces are the same who burn crosses. You know, it's two sides of the same coin is two wings of the same bird. Mm-hmm. And it's the corporate bird. They don't give a shit about you, folks. They really don't. Like Carlin says, they don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all.
They're not even pretending to. So.
No. And speaking of which, I have this story. This is Dan Alexander and Richard Behar writing for Forbes. This is Forbes magazine, folks. They're not a liberal publication.
No.
This is dated August.
List.
This is August 20th is the date on this. A new report from the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence offers a damning portrait of the people Donald Trump chose as his partners for potential projects in Russia. They include individuals with alleged connections to the mob, to Vladimir Putin, and to human trafficking. The group would comprise an extraordinary list of associates for any international businessman, let alone for the sitting president of the United States. Trump Organization representatives did not respond to requests for comment. In 2016, Trump Organization lawyer Alan Garten insisted that the business conducts thorough due diligence on its outside partners. He told Forbes at the time, quote, "We do extensive vetting on everyone we do business with. We do background checks on an international level. We do background checks on a local level. We check every available database commonly used. We use outside experts who specialize in this area, and that's in addition to looking at the deal itself, so extensive vetting goes on." End of quote. Well, they're doing their vetting to find these scumbags and partner with them.
Right. Because they need to make sure that they're scumbag enough.
Yeah, this isn't for exclusion, folks. This is for inclusion.
It's the same right now with the private contractors that are hiring people for military. They're vetting to make sure these people are racist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. And one thing, they mention Putin here in this article. We didn't have this on the list here, but I want to mention it. Have you seen the political opponent of Putin has been hospitalized now? They believe he was poisoned.
I didn't, but I think we all know what happened there, KGB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or whatever they're calling the KGB now.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the guy that Trump looks up to. You don't think
that's one of them? I mean, China and Russia, these are absolutely who he looks up to. Hitler is
North
another
Korea.
Yeah. All of them. Every fascist dictator to have ever existed is who he is modeling his success after.
Yeah, I saw an article earlier this week. Sounds like Trump wants to sell F-35 fighter jets to, I believe, UAE or Saudi Arabia, and Israel saying, hold the moment, folks.
No, so Eric Prince wants to sell them to his friends there at the UAE.
Yeah, by the way, the F-35, which can't fly, which has cost billions and billions and billions of trillions of dollars. Yeah, we've talked about the F-35 on this show, folks.
I even know about the F-35. But let me tell you, Eric Prince, his home base is UAE. That is where he has taken, what's it called when they bring you in so you don't get arrested somewhere else? What's it called?
Oh.
When he was getting investigated by the FBI here, that's where he was the whole time so that they couldn't extradite him.
Yeah, he went to a country where there's no extradition treaty with the U.S.
Right. They were in, I can't.
Abu Dhabi, I think.
Yeah, they were saying it was somewhere in the UAE is where he was. So, but now he wants to sell fighter jets to them. I wonder why.
Yep. Yeah. We're getting short on time here. I want to mention a couple of stories real briefly that we're not going to have a chance to get to. We'll just touch on them briefly. There's an article at Bridge Magazine, which is bridgemi.com. This is by Robin Erb and Ron French. Michigan has 14 school-related coronavirus outbreaks, and the state of Michigan won't say what school districts are involved.
Oh, great.
Their argument is that the district will notify the parents. Since the parents send their school kids there, they're the only ones that need to be notified. The media doesn't need to know anything.
Oh, because public isn't public?
Yeah, exactly. And that was pretty much their excuse. In other news, Dave McNary writes this for Variety magazine. Apparently there's been some changes out in Hollywood for people that are represented by SAG-AFTRA, the Screen Actors Guild, and American Federation of Television Writers. They're changing their insurance. They're now saying you have to make so much money before you qualify for the insurance. They're raising the rates, and if your spouse is covered by another plan, you can't have this plan. You have to be covered under the spouse's plan.
Okay.
So now 11,000 people in Hollywood, over 11,000, have now signed a petition.
Hollywood, you're telling me Hollywood's finally dealing with what the rest of America's been dealing with forever?
Yeah, it's taken long enough, hasn't it?
Oh, yes, but finally.
Yeah.
So they signed a petition. That's great because they actually have a platform.
Yeah, maybe Alyssa Milano will get sick. I can't stand her.
Could we be so lucky?
Now, Susan Sarandon, on the other hand, we love Susan Sarandon around here.
Yes, we do.
And then I've got a off-the-cuff story that comes from Germany. This is from the Associated Press out of Berlin. Residents of a Swiss town got a bit of a shock when it started snowing particles of a fine cocoa powder after the ventilation at a chocolate factory malfunctioned.
Oh, it was really chocolate?
It was raining cocoa.
Oh my gosh. How do I miss this stuff? No fair.
The Lindt and Sprunegli company confirmed local reports Tuesday that there was a minor defect in the cooling ventilation for a line for roasted cocoa nibs in its factory in Olten between Zurich and Basel. The nibs, fragments of crushed cocoa beans, are the basis of chocolate. Combined with strong winds on Friday morning, the powder spread around the immediate vicinity of the factory, leaving a fine cocoa dusting. One Twitter user said, quote, "It finally happened, guys. 2020 screwed up just enough that it finally did something right." End of quote.
That is so perfect.
And by the way, the ventilation system has been repaired, so if you're looking for chocolate to rain down, it's not going to happen again. At least not right now, anyway. Maybe Willy Wonka was the one fixing the machine,
This is what I was picturing. Not going to lie.
Oh, my God. Oompa, loompa, doompa, dee, doo. All right, this Oompa Loompa's got to get out of here. We'll be back next week. I'm Darren Gibson.
I'm Katy Steele for Jack Prince.
And for Kristen Cook, please support independent media and the First Amendment. And please take care of each other.
The stations that carry Southpaws do not necessarily share the opinions expressed on the show. Southpaws is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is copyrighted by Big D Entertainment. All rights reserved.